college football playoffs. We don't really talk college football. We haven't done it all year, but we're going to talk about it because college football playoffs are coming off, or are coming up here pretty soon. So we're going to talk about it. I guess first we'll just give our predictions. So you got the Peach Bowl, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Got to give that Chick-fil-A shout out. Georgia Bulldogs versus the Ohio State Buckeyes, and then the Michigan Wolverines against the TCU Horned Frogs in the Fiesta Bowl. What do you guys think is going to happen here? I think my prediction's pretty easy. Bulldogs versus Michigan in the finals, and Bulldogs probably win it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts if you disagree. I know Frank probably has something to say about that, being from where he is.
Being a true believer in Ohio State football, I do have something to say about that. I think that the Georgia game is a lot closer than people think that it's going to be, and I think Ohio State ekes it out. Just like
Disgusting.
the World Cup. Just like the World Cup, I think that everybody would love to see another Ohio State-Michigan matchup. I don't really see too many people being interested in TCU winning. They're a little bit of a snooze fest to watch, although their championship was good.
I don't think anyone is interested in TCU winning, but no one outside the Midwest wants to see Michigan versus Ohio State. It's just people that live there that care about it.
Ohio State was the most watched football team by far. I don't have the stats, but I think it was.
Just making things up.
No, I promise you, I will find the stats to back it up, John.
I believe you.
Give your thoughts.
I believe you, Frank. I'm just saying, I don't know a single human being, which I'm from the South, I'm from the SEC. I don't know a single human being who would prefer to watch an Ohio State versus Michigan. I think that's what everyone that I know, that's their least wanted. They'd rather see any other combination than Ohio State versus Michigan. They just don't care about it. It's just like, whatever, another Ohio State-Michigan game, like we've seen that before, versus something like Georgia versus Michigan. That's not a common matchup you see. But go and give your prediction. So you think Ohio State squeaks it out and then Michigan squeaks it out? Who do you think wins?
Yeah, I think Ohio State squeaks it out. I'm not so sure about Michigan, to be honest. I think that TCU and Michigan are very closely matched in terms of how good they are. I actually know some people that know, like J.J. McCarthy and Trevor Keegan, all those people on Michigan. But I'm going to say that they do. I think that game will probably be like 42, 24, 27. And then I think the Ohio State-Georgia game is going to be somewhere around probably 42-45. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think that Ohio State squeaks it out and then goes on to win the championship. I know that might be a little bit of wishful thinking on my part, but that's going to be my prediction. So
I think TCU is the Cincinnati of this year's college football playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
Not to take anything away from either team because I think they both deserved it, given the season. But Cincinnati kind of got destroyed as soon as they stepped into the big leagues. Not to be a douche about it, but I think TCU is another one of those where I think they're better, probably better than Cincinnati was last year, just comparatively to the other playoff teams. But
yeah, I would agree. I think their quarterback play is a lot better.
Yeah, I just think TCU is a little bit out of their league. I think Michigan beats them by at least a touchdown. And I think the Ohio State-Georgia game is probably a little bit lower scoring, probably 20-something or 30-something, because the Bulldogs win off of their defense. Not so much this year as they did last year, but still so. They have an incredible defense. Their quarterback, Stetson Bennett, I don't like him. UGA is my team, and I hate, and it's not because I like good teams, it's because I'm from Georgia. It's my state, so I like the Georgia Bulldogs. But Stetson Bennett is 25 years old. He's a super, super senior playing football with 18-year-olds, and it's just weird. And he's not a good quarterback. Not like he's bad, but he's just one of those very basic game manager types. You can win a championship with him if everything else on your team is perfect. But
it's like an A.J. McCarron.
Yeah, he's
type of player where he's just boring.
Yeah, no one thinks that's. I don't know how he was a Heisman finalist. I do not understand it. He did not deserve it. He is just an okay quarterback. Not that he's bad, but he's an okay quarterback, and he's not going to have a job in the NFL because he's already 25 and he's not playing impressively. So, but I think the defense is enough to get the Bulldogs to the state or to the championship, and then I think they win it again. I just don't see them losing as much as a steamroll they've been on. I think that they've got it figured out basically how to win. They did it last year with their defense. I think they're going to do it again this year with their defense, and I think Georgia Bulldogs versus Michigan will be a good game to watch. I think that'll be a little bit higher scoring because I think Michigan's offense can put up more on Georgia's defense than probably Ohio State can. And I think
they don't have Blake Corum though, and that's one of their big things with their run game, and they're missing a huge piece of that. So
yeah, I think the style of football I think the style of play in college football is fans expect a lot more perfection from college football play than they do NFL. Like, if you run a play and you get 1 yard and you're watching college football, everyone's pissed. But in the NFL, it's like, oh, that sucks. But, like, yeah, we got 3 more downs, we can do it. But, like, I've seen people watch the Georgia Bulldogs game, and if they if they throw on first and then they'll throw it and it just ends in a complete pass, everyone's freaking out and is pissed. It's like, there's just that higher level there's a higher expectation for them. I don't really know why, but there is. And so I think
people are more invested in local teams like that. Like,
yeah, I think that's definitely
where
where people are more passionate. Theirs. But I think even missing players that, in the stage that they are in now, they have enough to step up and still make plays. Because I think that people just getting obliterated at this stage is rare in terms of, like, you just get no offense going. Like, even if you're down your star running back, like, I think you still get something going. And so, I mean, I do agree with you. Like, it definitely hurts them that they don't have that. But, I think that's not, like, season ending, I guess. I don't know. John, what are your thoughts? You haven't really said much yet. I'm curious what you think about the college football playoffs.
Well, here's what I have to say. Georgia's going to smack Ohio State.
Yes, sir.
They're not going to...
Not true.
Georgia's going to destroy Ohio. This is Georgia, and this is Ohio. Just almost right through them. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Ohio State, it's not their year. And then it's going to be Michigan, TCU. Never heard of you. Goodbye. Michigan, Wolverines are going to snack on TCU. They're going to destroy them. And it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, with Michigan taking the trophy this year. That's right. Wolverines this year. Wolverines.
To Gio's credit, he has been on the Wolverines train the entire year, so he's not a bandwagoner, even though he's a Miami native.
I'm a Miami native. I'm a Florida Gator, but I've been on the Wolverines all year long. It's Wolverine season, baby. It's their year.
It's interesting that there's 3 games in the playoffs, and we all have different brackets. I like it. It's nice and diverse. I like that we all have different predictions. So we'll see who does more right. We're not going to throw any bets on it because we don't care about college as much as we do NFL. But it's still interesting to talk about. The other piece of this whole thing that we wanted to discuss is the college football playoff. Oh, hi, my cat is here. The college football playoffs moving to 12 teams. What do you guys think about that? I know we kind of mentioned they were going to talk about it beforehand, and we all kind of had some of you had mixed emotions about it. What do you guys think? I'll let you guys give your piece, and then I'll go.
So for me, as someone wanting to get into college football and wanting to watch it a little more, I think having more teams in the playoffs would definitely make things interesting, and I think would give a lot more viewership to a lot of players. That maybe gives them more spotlight to shine to see if they get drafted into the NFL. But at the same time, there's also the issue that they might get hurt or risk injury before entering the NFL. Although in recent years, I've been noticing that, like, a lot of players that get drafted, they're either injured one way or another prior to the season, and they have to step back. A good example is Jameson Williams for the Lions, I believe. I think he was hurt he's a rookie, and I think he was hurt for a good portion of the season, but he's still a stud nonetheless. So maybe I think we're moving away from that stigma that, like, oh, okay, well, if players get hurt, we're not going to draft them. I think we're moving away from that. Still a concern, though. Like, I still think NFL teams would be a lot more happier if the people that they're going to draft are more likely to be healthy, no issues all around. But it definitely would make college football a lot more fun, a lot more viewership as well, and an opportunity for players to prove their spunk on the field and show what they got.
All right, Frank, you want to give your thoughts?
Yeah, let me look at what the 12-team bracket would have been. Okay, so I'm not sure why this CBS thing has the... Oh, okay, so the buys would have been the 4 highest-ranked conference champions. So that would have been Georgia, Michigan, Clemson, and Utah. And then the rest of the field would have been TCU, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Kansas State, USC, Penn State, and Tulane. And the first game would have been Kansas State at Tennessee. Kansas State gets demolished by Tennessee. I think that would be a fun game to see, just a high-scoring game from Tennessee. Tennessee, I would have liked to see make it, but unfortunately they had a few losses. Tulane at TCU, again, just kind of an easy, game for TCU to win. No disrespect to Tulane, but like who has ever heard of Tulane? Then USC at Alabama, great game, in the first round of things. And then the last game would be Penn State at Ohio State, which is always a great game in college football. If you guys, follow college football at all, that's a hard-fought game every year within the Big Ten. And then the quarterfinals would have been Georgia versus whoever won, that Tennessee game. So it's Georgia versus Tennessee, which, again, amazing game. Game 6 would have been Utah versus TCU. Great game. Again, two very evenly matched teams. Yeah, that would be a fan. And so every round you have a marquee matchup, really. Game 7 would have been Michigan versus Alabama, probably. And then Game 8 would have been Clemson versus Ohio State. Again, very storied rivalries there. And then, obviously, the winners of those would have gone on. But I really think that it eliminates the kind of the bias, maybe, that there is with these selection committees, because every year you always see Big Ten and SEC teams make it. And that's pretty much the only, non-changing thing about the playoffs so far. And introducing, 8 other teams that could also win it all, there's a potential for a Cinderella story. It makes it a little bit more like March Madness, which is a great, format for things. And I think that next year you will see increased, revenue streams to whatever schools, make it. And also, it really gives a chance, again, Tulane, who knows who Tulane is, right? But then that gives kind of those non-power, teams a chance to recruit better and, make college football a little more interesting. So overall, I like it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Those are
so
my
I'm kind
thoughts.
of on the same page. My first and biggest thing is the bias. I just don't like how only 4 teams make it out of the God knows how many colleges are in the country, which I understand it's limited to D1 and, it's only going to be D1 schools. But still, even then, there's still so many teams that only 4 get in and it's just picked by a committee. The thing that always happens is, like you said, Big Ten and SEC, and that's because they bring in the most money. So you're going to pick the teams that get the most viewers. And that's what I don't like about it, because, every year you're going to get, either Georgia, Alabama, LSU, or Clemson, some combination of them. Ohio State, Michigan are 2 of those that are, some combination of that's going to be in there. And so you just end up getting the same teams every year. And then they pick, sometimes they'll pick, Cincinnati. That's a Cinderella story, which brings in money. And it's some people last year were well, does Cincinnati deserve to be in there? It's yeah, we're undefeated. It's yeah, well, they have an easier schedule. It's when you have the 12-team playoff, you don't have to say, or do they deserve to be in? Because they're at that 4th, maybe 5th spot. It's yeah, we have 12 teams. Let's go ahead and throw them in there. Let's see what they can do. They're undefeated, throw them in there, give them a shot. And so I think it also brings in more money because you can get more games. You just get more games that you can show on TV, get paid for that. And then I think it kind of eliminates the dynasty aspect of colleges where Alabama's been that guy for a long time. Georgia's been that guy for a while as well. Clemson and LSU have been that guy on and off for a decade.
Same with Ohio State. Same with Ohio
Ohio
State's
State.
Been up there.
Yeah, Notre Dame has been up there before. There's plenty of these teams that just kind of give me a second.
I think Notre Dame has been up there as well as what he's been saying, but this really just kind of gives you the ability to see a lot more, from these teams that are making it. But go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so you get people that, because like a lot of times people want to go to those premier schools because they know they're going to get a shot at the national stage where everyone's going to be watching all the NFL scouts, things like that. Because the majority of people in college don't make the NFL. That's just how it is. It's very, very difficult to make the NFL. So if you're a team that every year or like half of your college career, you're going to make the playoffs and probably the national championship one of those years, it's like, yeah, you're going to want to go to one of those teams. But if you have 12 teams there every year, it's like that broadens it a whole lot, especially if you've got teams like USC, Tennessee, Utah, that Tulane, that can all be in there. It's like, these are some schools that are good. They have good programs, but like getting them on a playoff national platform gives them that much of a bump to really take the next step. And maybe players who are coming out of high school look at them, it's like, okay, well, they went to the playoffs and they made a decent run, and they get eyes from the NFL scouts, so maybe I want to go there instead of Georgia, because I can go to Georgia and get looked at, but I'm not going to get as much playing time as maybe if I go to Utah and get playing time and I get to make the playoffs. And so I think it just kind of makes the whole thing better.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with that is too, right, you don't have these stud players who say, oh, well, we've had a great season all season, but we're not going to play, in our bowl game, or we're not going to play in the championship game because we don't want to get injured. I think you see a lot more people playing, because that, right? So say you're a first-round team, you're Tennessee, you have 3 games. You can't really afford to sit out those 3 games, and because that makes you look bad if you win those 3 games. So say, Ohio State plays those 3 games. CJ Stroud says, I don't really want to play, I don't want to get injured. Then you put in their, I forget who their backup is, Jack something or other, but you put in the backup quarterback, and he plays well and he balls out. And, they say, this really hurt CJ Stroud's draft stock because he didn't end up being all that necessary to the team, right? You need to play in these games to show that you are vital, to the team, that you have, these skills, because football is kind of a what have you done for me lately, game, and maybe less so than basketball or other sports like that, but certainly there's recency bias, and seeing players sit out for 3 games in the playoffs is going to hurt their draft stock, and I think you'll see more players play longer. So
yeah, I agree with that completely. I think it's just overall, it's kind of everything that we just said is the reason that I think it's a positive move to go to the 12-team college football playoffs, which I'm excited to see in a couple of years. It's going to happen, and we'll probably do more commentary on college football once that happens, because now it's like, okay, well, if you don't go undefeated, then you're not going to make it. And so it's like, okay, well, then why are we even going to talk about this? Because if the team loses 1 game, it's like, okay, then they're out. But it's like with the NFL. We don't care about the Lions losing half their games, and still maybe they can make it. Same thing with the Packers. College football is not like that, but it can become that way where it's like you can lose a game or 2 and still make it, which I don't like that perfectionist, like you have to be perfect all season long to do it kind of thing. Like I think you can mess up once in a while, and if you still you're still good enough overall, like on average you're the best team, you can still make it and go on a run, and I like that. So
yeah,
I like it, but we'll move on